Okay, bonjour tout le monde. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. 6 p.m. on a Friday, you could be having a beer, doing anything else, but you're right here, right now with us. So thank you very much, and welcome to the GCCM Entrepreneur Stage. My name is JP Chouari. I'm the Sustainability Coach, and I'm your host for tonight. Donc, je m'appelle Jean-Philippe Chouari. Je suis le coach en durabilité, puis je vais être le host ici sur le stage de la JCCM. Comment on l'appelle? Le stage entrepreneurship de la JCCM. Alors, avant que j'introduise la prochaine session, so this next session will be about half an hour long, and at the very end, you'll have like a 5 minute for questions, so please feel free to keep your questions for the end. So it's my pleasure to introduce, this is not the right one, it's my pleasure to introduce Mademoiselle Gabrielle Hurtubise-Radet, who's manager of the Entrepreneurship Lab at Mila, and Madame Ravy Por, partner in AI and data at Deloitte.
Hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Gabrielle. I'm so happy to get a chance to be there with you today. I'm very happy to be there because I'm fond of entrepreneurship. I'm managing Mila's Entrepreneurship Lab. Mila, I don't know if you know it, but it's the Quebec Institute. We have more than 1,200 researchers, and my goal is to make sure that I can build a product of their research. I'm beyond happy to be there also because I'm 26, and that's not something I mention oftentimes. I usually don't say my age. I don't say, like that I'm young either, like you can see it on my face, but usually I'm not saying at all. And I'm honored to be there alongside amazing leaders and young leaders especially. So thank you for taking part of this conversation with Ravy. Ravy, how are you doing?
Hi, Gabrielle. I am grateful to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm grateful to be on the One Young World Summit at the GCCM stage. Thank you for USLIM. Thank you for Deloitte. This is amazing. So I would say that I am also thankful and grateful to be here today to share my mission into the education of AI, education towards youth, education towards professional in order to change the world and make the world a better place.
Amazing, what a program. So Ravy, you're a partner in the AI and data practice at Deloitte. You're the founder and volunteer at Héros de chez nous, that we can translate by heroes, hometown heroes. You're a speaker, a board member, and a lifelong learner. I especially love when you mention it. We'll dive a little bit deeper in your work later, but what interests me is how you do it. You're doing so many things. How do you do it? If we look at your whole life, I feel like we can have a full book. But if we look at that book and we open the first chapter, the first pages, what will we see in those first chapters?
Thank you for that question. How can I say this? My families are refugees from the genocide of Cambodia, and we came here in Canada. My parents have the intelligence of the land, intelligence of the soil, intelligence of the earth, and they're farmers. So I am extremely grateful to be a free woman and to have access to education because of Canada. And I didn't speak the language when I was a kid. I went to school and I copied everyone. And then to a certain point, they're like, oh, okay, since she's copying in her exams, maybe she doesn't understand. So then they realized it's just the fact that I didn't speak French. But the only place where I felt included was the universal language of mathematics. That's where it was a universal language. I feel that I was good in it. And at that time, there was no French, no English, only Khmer, only Cambodian. And then I told myself at that moment, I want to be a mathematician. And at the same time, I want to be a philanthropist. And my uncle told me, that's a dichotomy. That's impossible. You cannot be both. But yet, you're able to do it. And you can dream big and make it happen. And so at that time, I told myself, okay, now I'm going to do my studies in mathematics, in advanced statistics, in engineering. And I feel so blessed to be in Canada, because in Canada we have amazing university programs into AI. So at that time, working into the field, we didn't call that AI. I was in data science. I was called a mathematician. I was called a programmer, name it. And then 18 years later, 18 years in my field later, that's when I'm here now, and I'm being a partner in AI at Deloitte. But at the same time, I told myself, you know, AI education is for everyone, for organization, for professional, but why not for youth? Why not for the next generation? Why not for minors? And that's when I decided in 2018 to found Héros de chez nous, as we can call it, hometown heroes, where we educate teenagers and kids in AI. Specifically, the reason why I decided to create it is just I don't want them to be only users. I want them to be well-informed users, but future developers, or even now developers of AI, in order to make, in their own way, a better place, the world a better place, whether it's being professionals, whether it's creating their own organization, building their companies. It's something that is so powerful. By instead of giving, you know, food, I will teach you how to fish. So that's the mission of Héros de chez nous, and that's how I got there.
That's amazing. Yeah. Round of applause, please. When you mention a world, like making sure that they build a better place, what do you mean by a better place? We oftentimes hear that, you know, AI is going to steal job, AI is going to, you know, create things that we don't want. We have all the struggles around information as well that we all know, this threat to democracy. How do we make sure that actually using AI is made in such a way that we create a better world, and what that world looks like, in your opinion?
It depends on your intention. I really like the comparison that with a hammer, I can build a house. With a hammer, I can hurt myself and hurt other people. So what is your intention with AI? Having the intention at the beginning is very powerful. What do you want to do with it? And that's why we have a web series at Héros de chez nous on a public broadcaster, Télé-Québec en classe, and TFO, la télévision franco-ontarienne. And the goal is for them to understand the intersection with AI in different fields like video games, autonomous transportation, quantum machine learning, ethics, and others. But at the end of the day, when teenagers and kids ask questions, it's around the same subject, and it's a natural subject, human. We are citizens and we have rights. But what about the cyber universe? As cyber citizens, are the rights represented the same way? And that's why we talk a lot about ethics. Even at 9 years old, they talk about ethics. Even at 14 years old, they talk about ethics because it's something that they know and they understand. So that's why having that philosophy, the ethical part of AI, it's to making sure that the rights are represented in that cyber universe. And they can use it and optimize it in making sure that their mission will be represented. Is it by optimizing AI for environment? Is it by optimizing AI for health and other subjects? They could do a lot, or even entrepreneurships. That's what we're teaching the teenagers with AI, that it is a tool. It is a tool that they can use in their day-to-day life, professionally and personally.
I love the fact that you mentioned the idea of building something. And I guess that the fact that you built Héros de chez nous was actually pretty much a struggle. When you're mentioning, you know, like your whole pathway towards mathematics and Deloitte, etc., it sounds like you learned a very easy language. You were saying like mathematics was your language, and it sounds very easy. Well, maths were not that easy for me, I have to say. So you were, I guess, very good at it. I guess that learning that language of maths, but also the language of working your path on a, you know, career later, was maybe, you know, faced with some barriers. Can you tell us more about how you faced such barriers and how did you overcome also these barriers?
That's not an easy question. I would say that everyone to a certain point will face barriers and challenges. It is inevitable. But the thing is, what I did in my own way was to share my voice. Everybody has a voice. And how do you use it? And how do you take your place? By that communication into, is it programming? Is it into another language? Is it into French, English, etc.? But how do you use that voice to share your dream? How do you use that voice to influence people? How do you use that voice to make sure that you want, let's say you want a future job, or you want to be in a particular board? Even I started boards when I was in my 20s, and I didn't know that I could be there. But by sharing my ideas to people, sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it was not that intentional, because the goal was to get to know the human in front of me, the organization in front of me. And by sharing those thoughts, eventually it becomes a reality. And sometimes some people didn't want it to give that place. It happens. Did it ever happen to you that you wanted something and people didn't give it to you? Raise your hand if it ever happened to you. See, we're not the only one. It happens to everyone. And the thing is, okay, if you don't want to hear my voice for a good reason, let's say, what can I do? So I decided to use social media in a very diplomatic way, don't worry. I use social media into education of AI, demystifying what was AI, demystifying what were the jobs in AI, because it's not only data scientists. We could have data architects, ML engineers, we could have ethical people, ethicists in AI, and others. So I wanted to demystify the different jobs and what it meant. Because from what we're seeing a lot of sci-fi. Robots are gonna kill humans. Well, you know that. And even Mr. Trudeau has shared that image of sci-fi. So by sharing a positive way of what AI could do, or generative AI, that's where people were more curious about it. So that's when I started sharing on social media about 10 years ago. And that's where slowly but surely I was taking my space and sharing my voice. And when people wanted to listen, well, they just look at the videos, and there it came. It came onto opportunities, challenges, different boards. And now I have the great honor of sitting in 2 different boards, including the Minister of Digital and Cybersecurity in Quebec, in this province, in order to advise them the best way that I could, and with different experts into AI, into responsible AI, into trustworthy AI.
You mentioned diversity and diversity of AI, and you mentioned also responsible AI. And I think it's a good segue to a short story. So when I started the Entrepreneurship Lab at Mila, I was so excited to gather every scientist that would be interested in launching their startup. So I built on an event. I was like, come here at that time, we'll have pizza, it's gonna be fun. I opened the doors and people came in, 26 people. And I found myself in a room of 26 men, kind of all the same age, kind of all the same type. And I just felt like something was deeply wrong. Building AI and building startups in AI has to be something that inspires diversity of people coming from all kind of background. And for instance, I come from a background in which we didn't talk about AI at all. We barely talked about technology. I studied economics, law, finance, and it was absolutely not a topic. So what would we advise to people that are maybe very far from AI, very far from entrepreneurship as well, and who feel that this is a room for the same type of people? What would we advise to these young leaders?
AI is for everyone. AI is transverse. It's in all the fields right now. I think that everybody in the room is using AI. Maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not intentional. The thing is, there are so many different type of work in AI. I know that sometimes we could see it as data scientists as a little bit glorified, but there are so many work to do. What about the infrastructure? What about the architecture? What about data? So I think that it is possible for everyone. And right now, if we're looking at it, there's accessible information online for free. At the beginning, we didn't have so many information about education and AI, but now we do. And I think that it's really interesting because now we can learn and use a platform for free to code and to learn how to code, even for someone that never coded before. Or prompt, if you prefer prompting instead of coding, that is possible too. It is accessible now for everyone. And I think it could be helpful if you know what you want to do. So if you know what you want to do or you want to explore something and then using those tools in order to help you, and I like to say optimize or make it faster, or even ask other people, and sometimes just connecting online or face-to-face with someone, it is easier now. So I would say it depends what you want to do, but it is accessible for everyone.
So AI is accessible for everyone, but should everyone use it? Like when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, of course, I'm talking to entrepreneurs in AI. So their first instinct is to build a startup in AI, but sometimes you feel that they're tackling a problem, an issue that doesn't really need AI, that you can have real humans or simple, very simple algorithms to solve your problem. So my question is, should everybody go to AI? Like, what's the kind of profile we should go there? And, if you don't go to AI and you're afraid that AI will come to you in a way, like, what's your position on going to AI or not?
I think by using the apps that we have right now, we're all using it. And for, let's say, entrepreneurs or even professional, if we think about it, what will be the difference between an entrepreneur, a professional that uses AI today and someone that doesn't? What do you think?
I mean, it depends on the domain. I'm pretty sure that if you work across, classical industries and you're using AI, that's for sure that you're gonna increase your productivity, increase your efficiency, these kind of things. And if you don't use AI, actually, it's pretty sure that your competitors will use it. So my opinion is that if you want to stay competitive on this fast-changing market, you better use it, or you better actually maybe not use it, but understand what are the consequences of not using it.
Exactly, and that's a great point that you mentioned. The thing is understanding when you're using, and there's a risk of not using it. And that risk sometimes is bigger. But the thing is, I feel that across all industries, there's going to be some way, somehow, that you could optimize it. Let's say if you're using generative AI to help you, let's say, write your emails, to help you create images in order to help you predict your sales. So there are many ways, and I feel that right now people are hearing a lot about, virtual assistant, which is great, but there's other ways to use it too, and going online and seeing what kind of different tools is accessible would be great to understand, to be well-informed users, and potentially be developers of AI. But the thing is understanding what is your field, and you don't always need to code. You don't always need to code. It is good if you code. I like coding, but it is always useful to understand the tools that we have. And just, let's say, an example with OpenAI and using GPTs, there's not a lot of people that is going into GPTs now. And for me, I feel in my own way that GPTs are, disruptive. It's like, the app store that we have it. The phone, the cell phone, the smartphone was not a revolution, but the App Store was. So I feel that's the same thing into GPTs, but it's not everyone that is going on it. But slowly but surely, getting into that information online, or asking your colleagues or potential people that is around you, and getting to know what are the available tools that is accessible now.
So what I hear from you, we have a huge realm of opportunities. We need more diversity in people taking these opportunities. And Héros de chez nous, Heroes, Tony Heroes is one of the tools that you're using to make sure that we have as many people, as many young leaders taking these opportunities. I'd love to finish with one last question before we take a few questions from the public. And actually, that's something I love when reading your bios. In 2020, you were recognized as one of the Canada's 100 most powerful women. Congratulations. During an interview for Elle magazine, you shared a valuable advice stemming from a Cambodian proverb. If you pick a mango too soon, it will be sour. Meaning that you don't have to juggle and you shouldn't juggle too many objectives, too many mangoes altogether too early. Considering all that you do, you're doing so many things. Actually, that was my first question when we met each other. How do you do it? How do you pick your mangoes? How do you pick your objectives? How do you know when both the mango and you are ready to go?
I always smile when I hear that because my mom told me that. She's like, "Are you sure that you're not doing too much?" I said, "No, Mom, I'm fine." And I always have a guiding principle. My life mission is about education. Because of education, I came out from the ghetto and I'm able to realize my dream and helping other people. But the thing is, the line that is following the story is always about education, whether it's for teenagers, kids, professional, organization, and technology, AI. So what I do at Deloitte by helping organization, it is related to AI. What I do with Héros de chez nous by educating teenagers in AI and STEM, it's the same thing. And by being into the committees, into the frameworks of AI and responsible AI, it's always about, you know, for me, the heart of the subject is AI and education for eventually its integration when people are ready. So that's how I choose it. And sometimes there's going to be so many opportunities that you could see. Sometimes you can pick it, sometimes you can't. Eventually it will come, but at the end of the day, what is your mission? It's always related to the mission. And if, let's say, if 10 committees come to see you and ask for your help, well, there's so many hours that you can give. So then you have to prioritize. And then I have a scoring system. I have an Excel spreadsheet. Well, and that's not really an Excel spreadsheet, but a scoring system where I choose what is the best way to create those changes into society.
I love that you're putting math into it once again. Well, thank you so much, Ravy. We're going to take a few questions here and there. You can raise your hand and someone with a mic will come, otherwise you can go directly to the mic if there is any questions. Otherwise, we have a little bit more time. Yes, here.
Testing. What would be for young entrepreneurs some of the low-hanging fruits that we can easily pick to continue on the mango metaphor and use AI to our advantage?
What is your name?
Mehdi.
Mehdi, thank you for your question. There are so many ways. The question is so large, so big, but the way that So the way that I would optimize AI first is I would see, one, what is the field that I'm working on? I don't know what's your field. Let's say it's in health. So what do you do every day? What do you do every day that is taking your time? So, of course, I'm so biased. I would use generative AI to help me organize it and help me generate, let's say, my messages. But there is other ways too. What kind of platform are you using? What is the goal that you're trying to accomplish? Are you trying to predict something? But at the beginning, even before going to that path, just taking a step back into choosing your priorities and then optimizing AI into integrating into some of the activities that you don't feel as you have much added value. I think that would be the first steps that I would take, but at the same time, there are classes that you can take online that would be very interesting for you to see. Or have someone in your team that knows AI, that would be great, or having those conversations, or even go to Mila and just have the conversation with the startup lab.
Yeah, if I may add, I think those are very, very good points. I would like to say three things. The first one is maybe find a problem. We often talk about the technology first, but you need to solve a real problem if you want people to give you real money for that. We think about startups as being vitamins most of the time. I'm just going to add a layer of that and that over something that I already know, and that's going to be good enough, or it's going to be just even better than what I already have. You need to find and build painkillers, something for people like that people would be ready to pay for. If I have a terrible headache and I don't have any Tylenol, oh my God, I would pay so much for a painkiller. So that's what you'd like to find. That's my first advice. And again, like coming from what you know, if you work in healthcare, try to find pains around people that are surrounding you. Try to find pains in your own work. What is taking your time? What is difficult for you? The second thing is to surround yourself with the right persons. And when I'm talking about the right people, it's not the people that you know immediately. It could be your family, it could be your friends. But I think there's a huge value in having complementary people. If you're from a technical background, surround yourself with someone that is a little bit more business-minded, and they will have other perspectives on the painkiller that you're building. And the third thing is to answer a real need within society. So you have already so many, resources online about what's needed. You have the UN SDGs, for instance. And if you don't know where to start, like tonight, go on the UN SDG site. They have like 30 of them, all subcategories, super well detailed. And then you can find something that is really appealing to you and that you find useful to work for. So those would be my advice.
Gabrielle, I really like what you said about, surrounding yourself, because I think that your network is your net worth. So if you have challenges, just go ask to your network that will help you.
Another question, maybe? Yes.
Bonjour, mon nom est Laetitia Yakam. Since we're in Quebec, I'm going to speak in French. Alors, la question que j'ai, c'est de savoir, Ravy, étant donné que tu as fondé Héros de chez nous, est-ce que tu as déjà eu à travailler avec une jeune fille ou un jeune garçon qui trouve que c'est tellement difficile et qui veut abandonner? Et comment est-ce que tu l'encourages à surmonter ses peurs, ses défis et ses craintes pour qu'il puisse poursuivre la mission du AI? Merci.
Merci Laetitia pour ta question. J'ai rencontré plus de 50 000 personnes au Québec reliées à Héros de chez nous. Et oui, j'ai rencontré des personnes qui voulaient abandonner. En fait, les premières écoles que j'ai faites et que je fais encore, c'est des écoles où est-ce que le taux de décrochage est très élevé. Et la première école à Cavalier de la Salle, c'est où est-ce que le taux de décrochage des filles est plus élevé que les garçons même. Donc, je m'en souviens d'une personne spécifiquement et elle m'a dit, Madame, je suis bonne en rien. J'ai dit, c'est impossible. C'est impossible que tu es bonne en rien. Et c'est le fait qu'elle voulait faire en sorte que ses parents soient fiers d'elle. En tant qu'elle aussi immigrante, elle voulait juste faire en sorte que ses parents soient fiers d'elle et qu'éventuellement, elle pourra prendre soin de sa mère et d'amener de la nourriture sur la table. Donc, le but était vraiment d'aller chercher quelle est sa passion. Tout le monde a un intérêt, tout le monde a une passion. Et dans ce cas-ci, elle, c'était en esthétique. Elle m'a dit, moi, je suis bonne à faire des sourcils. J'ai dit, wow, that's amazing, parce que moi, c'est pas le cas. Donc, tu as un talent particulier et juste de empower la personne par rapport à son talent, qu'elle peut être une entrepreneur. Donc, le côté de l'entrepreneuriat était quelque chose qu'elle n'a pas nécessairement pensé. Et comment, par la suite, construire son organisation, son entreprise, qui est beaucoup plus simple qu'on le pense. Mais lorsque c'est une zone et un territoire inconnu, bon, ça peut sembler comme un monstre. Et je dirais que pour ce volet-là, c'était aussi de comprendre qu'est-ce qu'elle veut faire, mais aussi de comprendre qui sera sa cible et d'optimiser, dans ce cas-ci, l'intelligence artificielle qui pourra l'aider à travers, par exemple, chercher sa clientèle sur Instagram, sur les réseaux sociaux, avec les publicités, etc. Mais c'est surtout de empower la personne par rapport à leur intérêt, à leur passion. Et c'est souvent le fait qu'ils n'ont pas accès aussi à des personnes qui peuvent avoir un background différent. Donc, le fait d'aller vers les jeunes et leur demander des questions, ça fait toute leur différence. Ça fait toute la différence dans leur vie aussi parce que, par exemple, dans ce cas-ci, sa mère était dans un autre domaine qui était complètement différent, comme les miens. Mes parents, c'est des cultivateurs, des agriculteurs. Donc, ça fait en sorte que d'avoir cet échange et d'avoir cette conversation, que ce soit avec des jeunes ou même que ce soit avec des professionnels, une conversation fait une différence.
Est-ce qu'on a le temps pour une dernière question?
Et malheureusement, tout le temps qu'on avait.
Merci.
Donc, merci beaucoup à Gabrielle
Thank
et
you
Ravy,
so much.
tout le monde.
Merci.